Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining the Citizens Police Advisory Council for the Charleston Police Department's meeting here tonight. I am Twan Fielding. I'm the current chairman of Cpac, and our vice chairman, Paul Tamburino, is on as well. And at present, we have two additional council members on. It's Mr. Jerome Harris and Mrs. Doris Grant. And then we have members of the police department who have joined us as well, and of the city of Charleston. I'm calling the meeting to order now, and I hope that serves as a wonderful welcome to you. We are looking forward to any comments that you want to provide us at a later time. I did confirm with Captain McFadden that no one has signed up to speak to us on this evening. Councilwoman Sarah Mack has joined us as well. So glad to have you, Ms. Mack. And in lieu of the roll call, Philip Clapper is here from the city to serve as our recorder. So thank you very much. Before we get into the roll call, Steve, Mr. Rumelin, would you please talk to us about update on new council members and also changes that have occurred when it comes to the continuation of a meeting absent a quorum?
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
So I went through our list and a bunch of emails for the past few months to figure out where we stand with membership at this time. And it looks like we have 5 vacancies at this point in time. One is District 7 with Councilmember Waring. We have District 9 with Councilmember Shade, who was Melvin Hack Ezel. We have District 10, which is Councilmember Bowden. We have a high school senior opening and one of the mayor's selections. At the time that we replaced Ms. Mack with Sarah Mack, I also emailed to Councilmember Waring and Bowden, and I have not received replacements for their people, so we need to contact them again. The mayor has someone for his selection that he had actually picked out in the spring, and for whatever reason that never made it to council. And then of course he needs to get a senior, and then we also have to contact Councilmember Shade for his replacement. So I'll be working on that in between now and I believe we have another council meeting coming up at the end of October, so I'll try and get new appointments by the end of October. We don't have enough time to do it at the next council meeting because that's happening next week, I believe. As far as the minutes and meetings and all that sort of stuff, by South Carolina code, a meeting is defined as a convening of a quorum of a constituent membership of a public body. You guys are all a public body on this council. And by state law, a quorum equals a simple majority. So in order to technically have a meeting, you have to have a quorum, which is a majority of the membership. And I take the position that the membership is the actual people that are sitting on the council on the date of the meeting, and not those vacant seats. So tonight, a quorum, for example, since we only have 13 spots filled, quorum would be 7. In this instance. The clerk's office, is willing to take minutes on these meetings, although they would like the subcommittees to do their own minutes, which I think you guys are already been doing. What they suggested, since everything's now recorded on YouTube, is that they could do the minutes, based off of the recording, and not actually have a person attend every meeting as it is live. They also suggested that we could designate a staff member, to do the minutes on the subcommittee meetings and these meetings where there is not a quorum. So we're still kind of talking with the clerk's office. I want to hear, kind of more with them. There's been a little bit of back and forth, but I don't think we've come to an absolute resolution of that issue. So I'll continue to work on that as well. You're on mute.
I just noticed that. Thank you. Thank you very much for explaining to us. So for clarification, whenever we do not have a quorum present, are we allowed to still meet or should we not have the meeting? And will there be any recordation at all of the fact that we tried to meet, but insufficient members were present, and so we were not able to have the meeting?
I think you technically don't have a meeting. However, we've gone ahead anyway on some of these because a lot of this stuff we're presenting information, and given that it is on YouTube and that the public has access to it both live streaming and after the fact to watch this, I think it does serve some benefit, even if you're not able to take any action or make any recommendations, that you still have that educational component of the issues that are important to you. So I think that's really up to you all. If you want to continue with the meeting, I do see some benefit to it. I hope we can get to the point where we have a quorum and we're kind of moving along and you all are making recommendations and all that. But in the meantime, if there's, topics that we're presenting on that are in the public interest, I don't see any harm in going forward with a meeting like this.
Okay, thank you. And then the other question I had, in our guidelines, there is a section entitled removal.
Yes.
And in that section, it states, if an advisory council member misses 3 consecutive meetings without cause, they may be removed by a majority vote of the advisory council. I realize that clause is there. I bring that to the front because I wanted the members to give that some thought and then ask you, Steve, given the challenge we apparently have with getting members, when would we be able to start, or when should we start enforcing that clause that's in the guidelines?
Again, that's all up to you. I think you'd have to, make that put that on the agenda and have a quorum to address that.
Okay.
There has been some discussion. Well, there hasn't been some discussion, but there's been possibly the idea of changing the structure of the council, maybe paring it down a little bit so we have a core group of very interested people. And right now we have 18 and we're not getting the numbers to show up, but if we had a smaller number of really dedicated people like you all are that are on these meetings, we might get more accomplished. But that that hasn't happened yet, but it's something that's kind of being considered. So
Okay. Council members, any questions? Any additional questions?
Apologies to interrupt. May I ask a question, Mrs. Chair?
Sure.
Do we have a quorum at the moment of 7?
No, we do not.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. The members that I skipped over doing the roll call in hopes that we would get a quorum to get on by the time I knew the discussion I had with Steve Rumelin, and I wanted him to share with everyone. And unfortunately, we still do not have a quorum. For the sake of roll call, though, so that you would have it for us, Philip, would you like to call the roll, or would you prefer that we say our names so that you would be able to capture those?
I've been writing them down as you've been coming into the meeting, so you're all good.
Okay, very good, very good. Council members, having heard what Mr. Rumelin stated to us, and knowing that we do not have a quorum, so that means votes are unable to occur, through consensus, I would at least like us to get to where you get to meet Julian Idson, who is the facilitator that we've been asking a number of times about who has been the successor for that position. And she has taken the time to join us tonight so that we could at least see her face and she could see ours. If you are within consensus agreement, please put a thumbs up if you'd like for us to continue the call to at least meet her and give her an opportunity to talk to us. Okay, I see Councilman Harris has a thumbs up. And I see Councilman Tamburino.
Madam Chair, I've got a
Councilwoman
question for you,
Grant.
if you don't mind.
Sir?
I've got a question for you, if you don't mind.
Okay, hold on 1 minute. And Ms. Matt, Councilwoman Matt, would you like to stay on so we could talk with Ms. Jillian Eidson? We can see you, Ms. Mack, but you're on mute. It looks like she's saying yes. She'd like to hear. So, okay, we'll go with that. Thank you all. Okay, Vice Chairman Tamburino.
I was just going to recommend that, in addition to meeting Ms. Eidson, I think there's other informational things that would be great to get, to talk amongst ourselves, even though we're not doing votes or anything. A lot of this is informational, and I think putting some of this in our minutes is really a good way of memorializing now what we want to, we may formalize later.
Okay, and again, there will not be, as Steve explained to us, there will not be written minutes. This is on YouTube, since we do not have a quorum. Just want to make sure everybody's clear.
I thought you were saying that you were gonna transcribe the minutes from the YouTube. You can have minutes of a meeting that doesn't have a quorum, because you have to have the minutes to show the meeting was brought, who showed, and that there was no quorum present. So you're always going to have minutes.
Right, but I don't think the clerk's office is going to do that in the absence of a quorum, given that we don't technically have a meeting. So
okay, I understand. I was confused over that. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's why, Paul, I wanted him to explain after he and I talked at length on yesterday regarding it. I wanted for council members to hear and have an appreciation. So it really behooves us, please. I have been reaching out. I hope you get a chance to reach out. I know Paul has too, via email. If you would, and others of the council members, please encourage them to join in on our calls. Last month, you may recall, 2 months ago, we actually had the meeting in person. It ended up being somewhat of a hybrid. And unfortunately, we weren't able to meet a quorum at that time. So there are no minutes from that meeting. And I'm saying that since this is recorded and it is an item on the agenda for tonight, there are no written minutes from our previous meeting that was scheduled to be in person and became somewhat of a hybrid meeting because we did not have a quorum present to facilitate minutes being prepared. Tonight, at present, we currently do not have a quorum, but with your consensus, we will meet Ms. Jillian Eidson. And we also had the communications subcommittee report and policies and procedures. That policy and procedures report was emailed out to you. If you have any questions regarding that, I ask please that you send your reply to all on the email that Vice Chairman Tamburino sent out. Please reply to all with whatever questions you may have on the policy and procedures report. As I know Councilman Harris probably does not have that report with him where he is right now. And I know you have received it electronically and have the ability to-
Madam Chair, I do have it with me.
Okay, all right. Then still, because we don't have a quorum, sir, would you accept the questions that come electronically?
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Much of what's on the agenda tonight was gleaned from the Policy and Procedures Committee's report. So without further ado, we will, Vice Chairman Tamburino, did you have any comments you wanted to share on communications?
All I would say is we had our meeting, our public webinar on de-escalation. We had that on September 20th. And I would say, I think we had the biggest participation, the biggest audience so far. And while all the presentations we've had from the police department have been great, the feedback I got from that one, and Tony, don't get too excited with yourself, but they said that was probably the best one because it's helping us develop our model. It was less PowerPoint, more discussion, less reading and more just back and forth talking. So I really appreciate the evolution of how these things are coming along. Councilmember Broom does a great job of hosting. And so I think this is working out pretty well. I'll have to go into the notes and look at the topic for the next one, but obviously it's not something we can vote on now. So
Okay.
that's my report. Anybody have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Tamburino. Councilman Harris, since Councilman Tamburino summarized what he was going to say for the communication subcommittee, is there anything extra you would like to add? Recognizing we did pull out for the agenda tonight many of the high points that were in your minutes from your subcommittee meeting.
No, Madam Chair, I think we'll see what Captain Quintella and the staff bring forward. And if there's anything I need to add, I'll do so at that time.
Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Now we're down to the updates. Introduction of the City of Charleston's Police Department Director of Procedural Justice. I do not see Deputy Chief Walker on, so Captain Quintella, will you be introducing her?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Perfect. So as you guys know, this has been a work in progress for over a year now. We went through different iterations of this, what it's going to look like. And after a long selection process that took a lot of time, we found the best fit for our agency and for our community. And we are proud to announce that Ms. Jill Idson has been selected, and she's been with us for about 3 weeks now. And to help her assimilate to Charleston and the community that we serve and the uniqueness of our community, we developed a 4-week onboarding process for her. And she's in 3 or 4 weeks. And not that her onboarding will stop in 4 weeks, but we really wanted to formalize it, meet, different key objectives within the police department, within the city, within the community. And we are trending on our way to accomplishing that goal.
Thank you, Captain Quintella, and thank you for that kind introduction of her. And now, Ms. Edison, would you like to speak to us? We would appreciate it.
Yeah, very much so. Thank you. I'm honored to be here tonight. And I had the pleasure of meeting Council members Tamburino and Harris previously, but it is an honor to meet everybody else this evening. So my name is Jill Idson. I'm originally from Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. So I've always had family in the Charleston area, and I've spent many, many wonderful years in the area growing up. So I'm very, very happy to be back in the Low Country again. Just a little bit more about me so you get a sense of my background and my experience and my interest in this area. I spent the last 17 years working in the criminal justice arena in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I also did a lot of my formal education in Philadelphia. Most recently received my doctorate in criminal justice from Temple University in 2020. And during my time in Philadelphia, I also worked as a probation and parole officer for adults. I also was a cognitive behavioral therapy facilitator for high-risk people on probation and parole. And most recently, I was the director of research for the Philadelphia Adult Probation and Parole Department. So my experience is in court, so I'm really learning a lot about policing, and like you all, am looking at this from a civilian perspective, but also one that's worked in various agencies promoting evidence-based practice. And so I'm really interested in looking at data. I'm really interested in looking at best practices and supporting the implementation of policies and practices that work to better the agency and also for the benefit of the community. So as I said before, I'm very happy to return to the Low Country, and I really am looking forward to learning from you all and listening to you all and supporting the work, the important work of this committee. And so I know this is a quick introduction, but I'm really looking forward to meeting each and every one of you in more detail and getting to know the area, but also really building upon the accomplishments that you all have made thus far. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so very much for taking the time to join us today. And again, welcome to the Low Country. Welcome back to the Low Country. And I do know we are looking forward to working with you more closely, and we look forward to the enhancements you'll be able to provide as so that we can achieve the goals set forth in the guidelines for CPAC and improving the communications between the community and the police department. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, Captain Patella, we did have you down for a third-party assessment update. Do you have some information for us regarding that?
I do have that.
Okay.
As you're aware, this has been a work in progress for a long
Right.
period of time. We started with discussions of what does it look like? Is it another audit? And what we're looking at is basically a review process to make sure that we met all the recommendations satisfactorily. So we put the scope of work out, I believe it was in early springtime. It got closed out about a month ago. And unfortunately, we only had one company or entity that actually bidded on it. And it was well over of what was for the budgeted amount. So what the next steps are going to be is we've been meeting with members of the different educational community around us and some other professors throughout the state to kind of steer us in the right direction. So we are just collaborating now between them of what is our next step from there? What does it look like? Because we would have to put this out for bid again if we need to entertain more people to come forward and actually go forward with this process, or what other options do we have? So hopefully by the next meeting we have, we'll have a more concrete idea for you of what it's going to look like.
Okay.
But like I said, unfortunately, we did have no bids that were within our budget allotment. So we have to kind of rebrand of what we're doing, but we are still committed to the third party coming in, looking at a review, and just ensuring that each of the recommendations that were proposed by CNA are actually fulfilled and met adequately.
Thank you, Captain Cotella. Any questions? Council members? Any questions for Captain Cotella regarding?
Madam
Councilman
Chair,
Harris, I see you. Yes, sir.
If I understand your presentation correctly, there was only one bid and it was above the budget level. That the appropriation. I know that the department's in the process of preparing the 2023 budget. Is there any consideration of increasing the amount of money allocated and for the project? And also previously had suggested that it might be prudent to have the Cpac give input to the RFP because it represents the audience is actually the community and the department. And what I'm hearing from the discussion and the presentation so far is that the audience is the department and is not taking into account the community. So I'm just wondering whether or not, since you have to go back out, we might not consider having the communications committee or the policy committee or executive committee of Cpac give some input to the RFP.
Captain
in terms
Cotella,
of-
did you catch both of those questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So in
good.
terms of the budget, I can't speak for that. I know the city had a little bit of flexibility, but one company that did respond was way over to where it wasn't even in a considerable figure. And I do not foresee the city upping that within the budget for the 2023 fiscal year. So like I said, I'm going to see what our options are and see what the best way is to actually, go about doing this. And then the answer to your second question is, in terms of scope of work, is we were kind of limited by what CNA proposed, and we're trying to stay within that language. And essentially, the third party review was to ensure that all the recommendations that were put forth by CNA, the 71 of them, there was originally 72, they took out one, is that all the 71 recommendations were met. And that was pretty much delineated by CNA, and that's the wording that we're going with. But I could give you what was published for the public for the scope of work when I get back to my office sometime next week.
Councilman Harris, has that satisfied your two questions?
For the record, Captain Cretella, the response from the city in updating what the city is doing, the department is doing as it relates to implementation, particularly in the area of community participation, identifies Cpac as the group that is responsible or being looked to give that feedback. So consistent with the language that's in the report is my suggestion and my professional observation for having done this work in other settings, that the department allow at least the Cpac to make comment about the RFP, whether or not you include our responses or not. It's your decision, but I just think it would be consistent with what you're indicating is the practice as you put forward in the updates on where you are with the implementation.
That
Captain
is
Cretella,
noted, and I said I can't make that decision. That comes from the chief of police and the mayor, but I will bring your concerns forward with them and I can report back to you.
I understand that. Thank you very much, Captain.
Yes, sir.
In addition, Cpac members, would you please reach out to your city council member and share this discussion with that person in hopes that maybe there'll be some way that the budget can be increased for that particular scope of work, and additionally be added in the responsibilities, woven in the responsibilities that Cpac has already been ordained to fulfill based on the guidelines that City Council and the mayor agreed upon for this council. Steve, would it be, if we were able to contact our council member, we need to contact them before next week, correct?
As far as them taking action on this?
Yeah, to see if, to see, is there an opportunity for the funding to be increased? Maybe it wouldn't be able to be increased to the full amount of the non-conforming bid, but it could be apparently the amount that's been designated may be insufficient. I don't know if it's grossly insufficient, but apparently it's insufficient because you only had one bid and it was a non-conforming bid.
Yeah, I mean, they can't take action on this because the agenda has already, been vetted for the next meeting. But I would suggest that you contact them as soon as possible. If you want this done sooner rather than later. So,
okay.
Madam Chair, can I recommend that Jerry send out to us all of the Cpac members bullet points on what we should really be stressing, so that we're all pretty well aligned, especially people that are not here. Okay. I like to have talking points when it comes to that, so that I know I'm on message.
Right. Jerry, thank you, Paul. Jerry, do you have time to do that?
Of course, on vacation, I had time to do that.
Oh, wonderful. We appreciate that. We know you always carve out some time for work. That's why you decided you would Zoom in tonight. And I had already said what you told me to say. So thank you so very much. We'll look forward to receiving that. And we'll make sure that the other members receive it, those members who are not present tonight. And in hopes that they will take action, we'll give them a deadline. Please make sure they take some action with their council member so that at least this could be talked around, although it's not on the agenda. Okay. Thank you, Captain Cretella. Now we're down to community engagements, and Captain McFadden is on.
Yeah, let me.
And Captain McFadden, as you're getting straight, I do want to publicly thank Captain Cretella for arranging for some officers to be present for the youth forum that was going to happen as a part of Moja. As a result of Hurricane Ian, unfortunately, that event had to be postponed, but I do know that there's some works underway to reschedule that event. And so Captain Patella, I will definitely let you know. Thank you so very much, sir, for working so quickly to get some officers who would be interested and amenable to talking with the youth.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And for some reason, if that event still doesn't go forward, we could schedule something outside of that just to have that conversation. That's extremely important.
Okay, will do. Thank you. Captain McFadden?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Just my little slide here. This is our new Citizens Academy class that started a few weeks ago. That's when Omar, I know you guys had his presentation. He presented to them as well a couple weeks ago. So just some of our engagement for August and September. We've had about 7 presentations in our ALICE training with businesses. Again, ALICE is alert, lockdown, inform, counter, evacuate. Since the King Street shooting last month, we've actually had many requests. And so we're community outreach does those presentations. So we're working through all the businesses, getting them scheduled in for that training. We continue with Meals on Wheels, and then also our senior citizen outreach events, where we're going into our centers and talking about crime prevention, what to do if they're victimized. And also we've invited other units in with us, like Animal Control has presented with us to one of our centers. A couple times we had some food left over from our back to school events. So we did grill out some hot dogs and distribute it to some of our homeless citizens in an effort to kind of communicate some options and outreach there with them. We're still working with the YAP violence interrupters, working on outreach in Johnson Street in the East Side area, kind of best ways to approach and come up with some programs. Again, that was following the town hall that we did earlier this summer. We had Costco Safety Week. We deployed the command post out there with some outreach materials. Hispanic Heritage Month kicked off on the 15th. We did our second year in a row for our big event, Johns Island Park, with multiple vendors out there. Coffee with a Cop, we've got that back going again. We actually did one this past week over in Grand Oaks, and that was very successful with sit-down conversations with our community members. Today, actually, the unit traveled to Columbia, where they packed over 2,000 boxes of food with Greg's Groceries, in which law enforcement hands out through the state of South Carolina. We usually come back with a couple hundred boxes of food. So that's a very successful program. We have had some requests from a few of our SROs to kind of assist with some mentorship opportunities in some of our schools. So we're kind of in the beginning stages of that. Moving on to our community centers. We still have our youth mentor program out of the Gathering Center. We held our second back to school bash. We had vendors there such as MUSC, which they were giving out back to school vaccines. Our victims advocates were there. We had other vendors assisting our community members with signing up to vote. A lot of giveaways for book bags and bicycles. And then the Multi-Purpose Learning Center in Robert Mills, we had our first back to school bash since that one had opened in February. We've also taken those kids that attend that center to the aquarium. And then we're working with Pastor Fred, who's at the Spirit and Youth Ministries Church next to that community center. He volunteers with us. And he's also going to be a part of our Faith in Blue weekend, which is upcoming. Again, we're always looking for volunteers for our community centers. We do open them twice a week and staff them, our officers do. But always looking for volunteers just to assist with the mentorship opportunities there. Partnership project, we did plan with Coastal Crisis Chaplaincy. And some of our community contacts in West Ashley, we planned and held the concert at St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church, which was also a part of Hispanic Heritage Month. And Coastal Crisis Chaplaincy also participates in National Night Out with us. We had the second one. The first one was in the East Side, which I know many of you attended. And then we had the second one at the River Dogs as well. So just upcoming for October, Faith in Blue weekend is this weekend. I've sent you guys the flyers. We also have Cops on the Coop on Friday, which is at the Savannah Highway Chick-fil-A, benefiting the Special Olympics. So if you get a moment, please drop in. And we have our Halloween Howl is upcoming on October 20th.
I think that those are pretty much all the updates I have for September and August and September.
Thank you, Captain McFadden. Any questions for Captain McFadden? How many are in the Citizens Academy this
18.
time? Oh, okay.
I dropped the number to 22 to be in line with kind of an even number that we wanted. And then we've had a few drop out, but we have 18. And they're a pretty solid group, a couple attorneys in there, very interactive. So good group, good group.
Good. Councilman Harris?
Captain McFadden, previously, at previous meetings, you've mentioned that you were working on your community survey. You have any update on where you are with that process?
Yep. I had kind of asked Dr. Wojo to review it. I've made a few tweaks, but now that Jill is here, we've discussed it and we're going to move forward with kind of reviewing it and just kind of move forward with the survey.
Again, has the communications subcommittee been involved? Will they be involved in reviewing the survey?
Yes, they certainly can be involved. We haven't really started moving on it yet, but have discussed it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Councilman Harris. Any other questions for Captain McFadden? Thank you, Captain McFadden. We appreciate it. Now we're going to move into future agenda topics. Our next meeting, the next Cpac meeting is scheduled for December the 1st. And two of the agenda items I know for sure we need to have are the general schedule for future reviews of directives. If you read the policy and procedures minutes, the policy and procedures subcommittee has been having some challenge with having the members of that subcommittee actually be present for those meetings, and having some challenge with the rest of Cpac, all of us actually sending in comments to those general orders. As a result, we would like to try having a discussion on any general orders that are under review at that particular time. We will have a discussion during our actual Cpac meeting. So then what we will ask that you do is that one, Captain Quintella sends us the email saying whichever general order it is that's up for review and gives the deadline. Hopefully it will be at a time when we're having a meeting. So Captain Quintella, if you can try to schedule reviews of whichever general orders are next to be reviewed, so that during the December 1 meeting, we can share our comments, questions, or concerns at that time. And that way we can be assured that you would receive some feedback from Cpac members. Cpac members who are present, are you fine with that?
That's
Okay,
fine. One comment though, I missed the last policy meeting. I received the calendar from Christy, but I did not receive a Zoom link for that meeting. So I didn't know, I never received, I got the calendar where it listed the de-escalation meeting and also another meeting that I attended, but I did not receive a Zoom link for the policy meeting.
Okay. Well, we
Madam
thank
Chair.
you. Yes, sir.
Madam Chair, it might be helpful. Captain Quintella does have a number of has informed us at our last committee meeting that there are a number of directors under review. Since this meeting will be on videotape, YouTube, Captain Quintella, could you give an indication of those reviews, those directives that'll be maybe under review between now and December 1?
I honestly cannot comment on that just because I wasn't prepared for that. And as you know, these directives come up. But like I said, we'll still continue what we're doing in terms of the process of emailing out, giving 15 business days, to provide comment. And we will try to make one so that at least it coincides with the December schedule, which that's not hard to do.
Thank you, Captain
Oh,
Cutella. And Councilman Harris, I did not expect him to be prepared to answer that
I
because
got you.
I shared with him as a result of the minutes from your meeting our desire to try a different way to ensure we're getting some feedback. And he would be able to say that Cpac was able to participate.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
I wasn't trying to put him on the spot in that regard. I just thought, I know in our discussion, he had mentioned, for example, that the traffic stop, and I think the school resource officers and a number were in the process. And I was just wondering whether or not any of those, just kind of give us a heads up in that regard, but I understand.
Yeah, the policy and procedures minutes that you provided, and thanks again for doing that, was very clear listing some of those. And rather than have a commitment to just those and not all that may come forth, let's please be attentive to our emails so that we can keep abreast of what our assignments, our homework assignments need to be, and be prepared to be able to share during the December 1st meeting. Councilwoman Grant, thank you very much for bringing that to our attention. And I'll try to keep a look too when the next emails come out to ensure that folks are receiving them. I do know sometimes something went on with the internet here, maybe right before Ian and then right after, where I had some emails on my work account pop in like 2 days later from when they were actually sent. So Paul Tamburino and I will try our best to keep a look on those emails to ensure that once we get something, and if you would, when you receive an email, when an email is sent out, please just respond back, received or acknowledged, and then we would all know. And whoever sends the email to you, if you would ensure that you copy the vice chairman and myself, then we can kind of keep tabs on ensuring that you're receiving communications. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then the last item there under future discussion is election of Cpac chairperson and vice chairperson. And I just want to remind you that in our guidelines, we're supposed to elect a chairman, a chairperson, and a vice chairperson annually after the establishment of Cpac. And we obliged Paul Tamburino and I were honored that you felt confident in our ability to continue to lead you in the capacity of chairperson and vice chairperson. We will be relinquishing those titles in December. And we are looking forward to you stepping forward to be on the slate to serve as the chairperson and the vice chairperson. Two separate positions, very exciting opportunities. And we know that since you agreed with your councilman to be on this council, that you are willing to serve in capacities where your energy is needed. Those will be the two areas that will be a focus for filling in December. And hopefully we can redirect, Paul, we can redirect the members who missed tonight to listen on YouTube to hear what they missed for tonight, okay? And of course, we will have whatever general order that it will get the schedule from Captain Quatella shared with us at December 1st, and whichever orders are under review, we will have those on the agenda as well. And Jillian, if you have anything you'd want to discuss with us or present to us at that time, we will definitely reserve, as we do for the other members of the police department, an opportunity on the agenda for you to share with us in your own way.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, members and Charleston Police Department, thank you so very much for staying on tonight. I realize I cannot ask for an adjournment, but I can say thank you so very much for the time that we've shared and spent together. And I hope that you continue to have an exciting week. Stay safe, and we'll see you at your subcommittee meeting in between now and December 1st, and most definitely on December 1st at our Cpac meeting. Thank you so very much for your time. Take care. Phil, thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.